Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon Live, the comic book conversation show. We're airing on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, my Facebook page. Jon Suntress here. Nick Pitarra joins us. Nick, good to see you.
It's great to be on here, John. I really appreciate you taking the time out to have me on since I have a new book out. I've listened to you for years, as we were saying in the green room before we started. And you're the voice of comics, and it's an honor to finally be on your show. I know we bumped into each other once at San Diego Comic-Con. I heard you at the bar, and I said, "That's Jon Suntress," and I went up and shook your hand and said, "Thank you for everything." But it's an honor to be on your show and to finally get to talk with you.
It's a long time coming, Nick, because I really enjoyed your run with Hickman on the Manhattan Projects, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But today you're here to talk about your new book that you've written and drawn. And I said it's action. What did I call it? Action gore galore is my little rhyme there for you. That's axe wielding Jon, the Barbarian. It looks great. In fact, why don't we right off the bat take a look at a great trailer that you made with me, and you did the heavy lifting. All I had to do was voice the damn thing. But here I'm gonna play it right now in a second. So here we go, everybody. Here's a great look at Axe Wielder Jon from Nick Pitarra. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by Axe Wielder Jon. Written and drawn by Nick Pitarra, the Eisner-nominated and New York Times best-selling co-creator of the Manhattan Projects, Axe Wielder Jon is the story of a faceless barbarian cursed to fall in love with the heads of his many victims. Follow Jon as he makes a precious discovery and soon finds out just what a man is willing to lose in order to protect what he loves most. Frank Quitely calls it amazing. Jay Lee says Axe Wielder Jon is truly visionary work. And Bill Sienkiewicz says, wow, just wow. The 148-page oversized hardcover is almost complete. Order it now on Zoop, the only crowdfunding platform that provides customer service and fulfillment to ensure fans get their products on time. For more information, check out my Word Balloon interview with Nick on the Word Balloon feed, all about Axe Wielder Jon. There we go, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you for playing that. I'm tickled to hear your voice talk about the book. Like I said, man, you're the voice of comics, so I feel like that minute spot there legitimizes me in my career. So that's better than being Eisner nominated. So that was awesome.
Stop. That's really kind, man. That's excellent. Here, even Jerry Schaefer is happy to see us talking about this, dude. It looks fantastic, and it's your kind of pushing the limits on the action that you do. And again, it's something that I enjoyed very much about the Manhattan Projects. And now instead of it being 1940s and 50s scientists, you're taking that one step further and going back to the Barbarian age, where it's appropriate for blood and guts to be that gory.
Yeah, I got tired of drawing old scientists in tight suits. You know, I can only do so many wrinkles. I was like, I'm trading my wrinkles in for muscles. So that was the plan.
Well, and also, good Lord, you can't help but notice, and I'll bring up a couple of the images that I meant to put up earlier, but you saw from the trailer and stuff. I mean, here actually, even just that amazing initial image. If you weren't paying attention, everybody, there's a part of Axe Wielder Jon's face that's missing, and there it is. I mean, you see the arrow right there for the play. But he has here. I got to set you up with the classic joke. He has no nose. How does he smell?
He's a mouth breather, of course. He's a mouth breather. How does he smell? So on that one, that one's the paint. I got hand painted covers done by this artist named Das Pastoras, and he has a very Richard Corbin-y, Liberatore type style, and he's worked at Metal Hurlant and worked with Jodorowsky, and I've always loved his work. And the colorist, pretty famous colorist Jose Villarrubia, translates for him and is his rep. And I have an editor, Chris Stevens, reach out to him for me and just see if he was available. And he said, well, he wants to look at the book. We sent him the book, and he really liked the art. He said he enjoyed it. So that was awesome. And so I signed him up to do the first 3 painted covers. And with his face, John's this overly machismo character, and a mustache is just like to me a symbol of machismo.
Sure.
So I thought, like, in the comic book, in the story, something happens to John where he loses a little bit of that machismo. So I thought, wouldn't it be funny to break the mustache in half but have him still wear it? And his little sight gag to myself. He does lose his face for a reason, and he doesn't have the nose holes for a reason. It's all carterized and destroyed in the fight scene that he's in. But yeah, it's a graphic image. It's a very bold image. If I want to sell the book, to put that on the front cover. But I just said, if I'm going to make this comic, I'm just going to 100% do it my way. And I
Yeah.
said, this is the kind of stuff I like. And hopefully the violence is only an aesthetic for a story underneath the violence, a sleight of hand trick. But yeah, it's an interesting design for sure.
But you didn't take my bait. It's he has no nose. How does he smell? And you're supposed to say terrible. Especially being a barbarian. I imagine he goes a long time between bats. So there you go. That's no, that's great, man. It's seriously very distinctive. And it's like Jonah Hex's creepy eye and that amazing little, piece of skin between his mouth and everything. It's like, no, you can't look away. So that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, I was really aware of that, Two-Face and Jonah Hex, and I was like, no one's ever just, that, like, if you're going to take away something, just take it all away, just have it be the symbol for the whole thing. And I was like, that way it's at least distinct, like everyone's got the scar over the eye or something, and the Two-Face thing is done. And I say, how about just write down the whole face? And so that was the plan with it. And yeah, it's my first book I'm writing and drawing myself.
Yes.
Uh, I when I came up with the story, my daughter had got sick in the hospital, and me and my wife had to end up staying in the Ronald McDonald House. And
Wow.
I was alone and doodling a lot with the free time we had while she was healing up, and she's better now, so it's all good. But
Good.
the way the character came to me is people kept telling me, give it over to God or trust the doctors with her condition. And I was like, I'm just going to start drawing. I started drawing this barbarian that was, I'm taking no crap off of nobody, and I'm going to fix the world my way. And then I thought, well, what would his occupation be? And I said it would be a great problem to have if his way was wielding axes, because what if you give him a problem that he can't chop through, and he'd have to learn a lesson. And so then that's a story started forming around it. And the way he came to me in like a time of need when I needed a hero, I was just like, I'm going to draw this no matter what. With the book, I've only people have seen it are the people that are doing interviews, because I did not pitch it. I was like, I'm going to go back home and make it. And I've been drawing for a year and a half. And we got 14 pages left, and it's a 148-page hardcover. So I've been drawing it oversized too. Every panel is on its own 11 by 17 board.
Wow.
So it's drawn really oversized, so I can get in tons of detail. And yeah, I'm throwing everything I have into it. I've made a great creative team. I got Chris Stevens as the editor, who's a 2-time Eisner Award-winning editor. I got my colorist on Manhattan projects and some Marvel work, Mike Garland. We got Farron Delgado, who's a Eisner nominated letterer. And I really like the book design on this book called Little Bird. Ian Bertram drew it, and I love the book design on it. So I just opened the book up and said, you know what? I'm going to get the best book designer I can find. And I got him. So I've really just been funding the book out of pocket, not making any money for a year and a half. So my wife isn't too tickled with me. But I thought I would bring it to fans first and see if there could be an audience for it. And so that's why we picked Zoop, who does fulfillment and everything. And we decided to go with them just because I knew I couldn't be a distributor and mail stuff out. And I like their base.
Sure.
And it felt like a good way to dip my toe into the crowdfunding scene. And maybe there'll be a soft cover down the line at a bigger publisher, but as of right now, I just want to make it as purely as I can without any oversight, and see what comes out.
Do you use paper, or is this all digital? How are you doing your art?
I use paper. I print out, but it's a little bit of a combo now. It used to all be on light boxes and drawing up. Now I'll use the iPad, and in Procreate, I'll do sometimes the roughs there, print them out blue line, since technology's gotten so good.
Sure.
So I've kind of cut out the light boxing. I used to love my light box. I used to take naps on it. I'd stay up all night and it would hum, and I would, I'd lay down on it. My wife would come in and go, "What are you doing?" And it's like, it's got a nice warm glow to it, but that's gone now. That's traded in for the iPad. So I'll do my roughs there, blow them up really large. Instead of doing a page a day, I'm doing a panel a day. That's why it's taken so long to get it done. And yeah, that's how the process has been. And it's been a real weird thing. I've written stuff before, but never said I'm going to do it and actually draw it. So I had to really stop and step back and look at the story as a whole and the plot points, and not just go in and draw like, this guy cuts this head off, this head rolls really cool. That's a sequential thing, but it's not necessarily how the story is being absorbed to the reader. And I've never had to really worry about that. I always had Jonathan Hickman like guiding the story for me. So I had to like put on a writer's hat for the first time, which is really interesting. You know, you learn a lot. You
Well,
learn a lot.
Chris is your editor. Was there another writing guru that you turned to in terms of writing this script?
Without a doubt, my number one was Chris Stevens. Chris Stevens, he gets on the phone with me every day. He's in like I do this. I'm bad with friends. I'm like, read it and give me some tips. But sometimes they don't want to hurt your feelings, or sometimes
Sure.
or you know, or sometimes they just don't have the mental aptitude to float into panels and talk about word placement and word choice.
Composition. Yeah,
Even
yeah, yeah.
my wife is a writer, but I don't want to burden her. So like
Oh,
hiring Chris, I was like, I'm paying him to float his mind down in here. The problem is, it's like, you know, you start having creative, like, would he say this or would he say this? You know, you got a little birdie on your shoulder, but he challenges me. And we made a pact before we started. We said the book comes first. It comes before our egos. If you need to redraw pages, even though you think you're good, you got to redraw the page. And I said that he made that clear before I hired him. And I said, deal. I want this to be the best book possible. So he's been there for me. And then Hickman has always been a good friend that I can reach out to. And John read a very early draft and marked it for me, sent it back. And so always thankful to him. So yeah, yeah, I've had help from a lot of friends. So I'm not all alone, and very thankful to all of them, you know, and my wife too. My wife's been fantastic as well. I just like, you know, I'll draw something at night and I'm all tired and a little manic, and well, look what I did. And, you know, she's like, we got 2 kids, leave me alone. You know what I mean?
what does your wife write?
She writes mystery novels.
Oh, wow.
She's got a really great agent. She wrote one book and it didn't get optioned, but it got like a little bit of interest, but no one's picked it up yet. And then so she's hard at work on her second book. I tell her she's still young, you know, she's only 35. So I'm like, you got time, you got to have life experience, you know, to get it all out. So she
100%.
teaches college too, you know, as our main income. But we're really hoping, and I do believe it will take off. So I think she's gonna be a fantastic writer when it's all said and done.
That's excellent. What school does she teach at?
She used to teach at Purdue, and then when we
Oh,
got
sure.
married, and then when we got married and into Texas and stuff, she's teaching at a. She's gonna be mad. They're like two adjunct spots at 2 separate colleges, and I don't really know them because I'm
Okay.
the worst. But
Well,
I do know she taught at Purdue because with the 2 kids, she wants to be home with the kids, you know. So she took adjunct positions to stay home and watch the girls and stuff. So.
that's excellent, man. And you know, again, like you said, you're in Texas. What part of Texas are you in?
I'm in a little. I used to live in Austin when I was doing like the whole try to break into art thing. And then when we bought our home, it's a little expensive there, so we went about an hour south in a little town called Bulverde. So we're about an hour south of Austin and about 30 minutes north of San Antonio. It's
Oh, great.
It's a little Texas town. It's in kind of the start of the hill country. So we bought our house a couple of years ago, and her family's really really close by. So
Oh,
they help
great.
out a lot. Having them around's been really nice. And the good news is like I've always been selfish, staying in my room and drawing. With her family close, I can be like, we take the girls to your mom's, and she's happy and I'm happy. So I still get a little bit of independence every now and then. So it works out good.
Excellent. That's cool. I'm going to bring up more images from the book, Axe Wielder Jon, everybody, and it's pretty amazing. Here we go. Let's look at some of this stuff. I've got to ask about the lizard barbarian that Jon faces. I forget his name right now. What's his name?
There's a couple. There's like the techno lizards that he fights, and it's a, you know, obviously this guy here, Lord Fang, he's this over the top, kind of like my version of Skeletor 2.0. And
Sure.
I really liked he's got these he's got these spiders for eyes, and the back of the butt of the spider has the hourglass. So when he's looking around, the spider's moving around in its eye sockets, and the legs are kind of like eyelashes. You can't really see in that shot, but that's what it is. And we've had this great reaction. I've established some relatively okay friendships with like Frank Quietly and Jeff Darrow and a couple of guys. I think they know. Yeah, there's the spiders in the eyes there. That's
Okay,
Mike
yeah,
Allred's pull
yeah,
quote, which was really nice of him.
yes. Good
But
Lord.
so it was really good. So they've been really. That's Das Pastoras is volume 2. That one won't be available this time, but I've already, basically he was free, and while he was free, I was going to get the covers I needed for the whole series. But that's Lord Fang, and he's got this really cool twist in the book, and he's the big bad. I knew that like every Batman is only really Batman. Why he's so cool because of his villains.
Yes,
If his villains didn't stand out, he wouldn't stand out. You're only as big as what you can conquer. And
100%.
I really knew this guy needed to be over the top. So I went, mega on him, tons of detail, tons of grossness, and try to make him as freaky looking as possible. So
I love how his fangs intersect.
yeah,
Everything.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's like Cthulhu almost, kind of closing up and clenching.
Yeah, like a Venus flytrap of like
Yes,
spikes and bones and flesh. Yeah, and,
absolutely.
and all that kind of plays in his design later because he's a skeleton in there and he can slip out of it and stuff. So it's kind of this kind of gross, like living bubbly
Metal
suit.
armor.
Yeah, yeah, like flesh armor. And so I like really worked on the designs, and obviously it's the green skeleton looks a little bit like Skeletor. So
Yeah.
like I'm a big Masters of the Universe fan, and when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I had all this angst because I didn't want to give up my action figures. It's like, oh God, turning 13, I can't keep loving these things. And what I realized when you're drawing comic books, you're actually playing with action figures in 2 dimensions, but people are allowing you to do it because there's a skill set of delineating it down into the page. And so when I learned to draw finally, 17, 18, tried to break until I was about 25 before I started getting work. I realized I was just collecting my action figures again. So it was like a cool, really rewarding thing. So I do think like watching my daughters play and stuff now, you float your imagination down into these little plastic toys. And when I'm drawing them on the page, I'm floating my imagination down into the panels and moving them around. So yeah, it's been a really fun, rewarding process. And I was going to say, something thoughtful, like, Mobius says, Mobius, obviously the famous French
Jean
illustrator,
Giraud, yeah,
Jean
absolutely.
Giraud.
Mobius.
He had this saying that I always loved, that an artist encodes reality. It's so hard to define what art is. And the way I look at that is you take everything you compute and you delineate it down into your lines or your hand. I realize writing is actually much the same. You're taking your life experience, my stress about having a kid that was sick, all this stuff, and I'm putting it into the page, and you're seeing like little plot devices pop up. Like we are mimicking our realities down into our fiction. So like it was kind of eye opening because I always thought it was just like delineating to your line and your craft, but really it's really your essence. Whatever you put into the writing too is very much an art in that sense as well. So
Well, I know regarding your action figures, uh, Tim Seeley and Mike Norton share studio space at 4 Star Studios here in Chicago, and their walls are lined with action figures, and both of them hang on to them. And no, that's inspiration, man. I mean, they look at those all the time, and truly, I mean, the great thing is a lot of these action figures, they have great definition, and there's musculature considerations and stuff. Seeley, massive He-Man fan like yourself.
oh yeah, he did like a book on He-Man for Dark Horse. I have that book. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, him and his brother Steve, absolutely. Yeah, and in fact, like they are like even the He-Man conventions that have happened and stuff. He's been a regular attendee and guest speaker and things like that. So yeah, what'd you think of the Netflix show that Kevin Smith made?
There's some really interesting things there. I loved when they went to like technological religion, that kind of stuff. Like it was a
Me
very
too.
interesting spin, like I know that it got some backlash online from fans that were thinking whatever, but I thought some of the higher plot concepts, like with the characters doing the technical religion stuff, was like super cool because there was no Skeletor to hold it all together. So
Right.
to see how they fraction was really interesting. I really like that.
I'm with
So
you, man. Yeah.
yeah,
No, it was very, very heavy metal.
yeah, very, very
In,
much
in the
so.
best way. And that's the thing. No, and yeah, man, I remember too. The first half of the show, everyone's freaking, and it's like, hey, it's half the show. It's
Yeah.
like this is. It's funny because I mean, certainly I have my issues with some of these streaming shows that are a 10-part or 8-part story, and whatever, and sometimes you got to watch it. But yeah, it's like, wait, you can't judge halfway through. You gotta let the story play out, and I think it played out really great. And no, those villains were really, I think, distinct. And buddies like Susan Eisenberg, my buddy that's also the animated Amazon, she's Wonder Woman on the Justice League cartoons. I thought she did a great job. I thought Sarah Michelle Gellar was great. Everybody, I thought the cast was really good. Certainly Mark Hamill as Skeletor, fantastic. You can't go wrong. Are you in your mind? Are you casting Axe Wielder Jon for the eventual animation?
Yeah, I'm making a Marvel Masterpiece card, and I'm going to give one away with everyone on our email list. So if anyone wants to go to axewielderjon.com, I have or axewielder.com. I bought those 2 URLs, but I'm having to figure out now, like, who plays him, like what's his actual height, because I'm having to do the back of the card. So it's like, to me, it's something like the Mountain, that size wise, 6'9", 420 pounds of muscle, but maybe there's a few guys that I like, like guys like Batista kind of look like him.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest. Yeah. Like, if he'd be willing to do the makeup, I think Batista would be fantastic as Jon.
Yeah, whoever it is, they're going to have to put like that green screen paint over their face. So, and Batista has a pretty small nose, so it won't change it completely. They're going to have to be not that vain about getting their face on camera with that, bloody scar. But I really was thinking Batista. There's a few guys, there's so many people that I like in film, but they'd have to shrink his head down a little bit to give him his massive bulk, whoever it is.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. That's hilarious. Very funny, man. No, it's a great design and a great idea. And also, given the fact that he's an axe wielder, based on the panels that I've seen and stuff, you figure out a lot of different ways for him to use the axe, not only chopping, but using the flat of the blade. And there's some really funny. And again, that's why it's like, okay, if you like action gore, Axe Wielder Jon is going to serve you well, because you really went to town. You cut loose.
Yeah, I heard. So, like, I'm going to farm. I'm going to farm Twitter because someone's like, "Oh, you took the flat side, the broad side of the axe and squished the guy. Then what are you going to do next? Shove the handle down?" And I was like, wrote it down. Shove the handle down. We'll see. I'll use the handle down the throat. I'll do that move. I'll push the limits. So
that's outstanding. Hilarious.
Yeah. So I'm keeping little notes on interesting ways to kill with axes. So, but really, I love like gory stuff, and I love action, but I really wanted to use it as a mask for, and hopefully it's there. Hopefully it's not just that to people. I'm excited for them to read it. I really am, to see if the story comes through. But hopefully the violence isn't too off-putting. But we'll see. I'm having a blast drawing it, though. It's by far the most fun I've had working in comics. I've had a lot of great moments, and working with Hickman is especially a highlight. Very, very rewarding creatively and very rewarding financially working with him. This one's like I'm pushed out on the nest on my own and see if I can fly or hit the ground, and we're going to find out soon. So
that's great, man. No, I understand, and we'll talk more about Hickman in a little bit. As far as Jon goes, though, you've created a very detailed mythology for this, and you've got a lot of different races and characters that are explained in the book. So I would imagine, hopefully this thing does well enough. You're likely thinking sequel.
Oh yeah. I mean, I paid for the next 2 hardcover paintings. The story's plotted out. I know actually the overarching, like his very end, when way later, but this story arc specifically, like me and Chris Stevens have worked hard on the plot turns. Obviously this is all scripted, but the rest is kind of loosely plotted. So I know where this stuff is headed, and I'm going to get there. Like, I'm going to make it no matter what. I've got a decent art collection over the years, and with that, I've been funding, like, what I do is with my art rep Felix Comic Art, when he sells my work, I just take that money and I buy other people's work. So I've got a decent Frank Quietly collection and decent, I just buy artwork from people who are better than me. And so with this book, when I've needed money or anything for funding it, I just have to sell a piece. And it sucks to let a piece go, but it's just like I'm trading, like I'm getting the money back from my art that I invested in the collection. So I'm gonna fund this next one too. I'm gonna keep going. I want to do this for as long as possible. I have like a book with John Layman, Leviathan, that's been on hold, and we're gonna finish that. We talked with Image. We're finishing over the summer, so I got to go back after Axe Wielder Jon's complete. Those 14 pages are done. jump into that, finish that series off, and then I'll be back on Axe Wielder Jon Volume 2. So I look to do this for the next 3 or 4 years if everything works out okay.
That's great, man, and I'm glad that you and John are getting back to Leviathan. I wondered, and maybe because you were busy with Axe Wielder Jon, uh, was the opportunity or the interest on your part there to maybe join John and the Three Moons, Three Worlds stuff he's doing on Substack with everybody?
Oh yeah, for Hickman, yeah. So like with him, I know like he's collaborated with a number of artists over there on that with Hickman, and it's interesting because rumor has it Hickman pays well. I don't know what that is, but I heard he pays well. And when you're not making a page rate, it's tempting. So but I know that he reached out to Felix, my rep, to get some of the guys from that site from what
Oh,
I
great.
heard.
Sure.
And I think my name was recommended, and Hickman said, "Let him finish Axe Wielder Jon.
Oh, that's great.
Just focus on it." I think he wants me to focus on it. And he called and said he was proud of me when he read it, so that meant a lot.
It
He's
does surprise me, man. No, I've known John for a really long time. Hell, almost as long as I've been doing Word Balloon. I think 2006 is when we first started talking. And he's one of my favorite people in comics. He's a brilliant man and and it's obvious in terms of the work is evidenced by what you guys did with both Leviathan and Manhattan projects and stuff. You guys are great together. And I think that, especially Manhattan projects and stuff, I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Has there been any film interest in Manhattan projects?
Yeah, I mean, there always has been, but Hickman always holds that close to his chest. So what Hickman, but I can say this one's passed. But Matt Parker and Trey Stone, the South Park guys,
Yeah.
they were the first people that were very interested in it, and
Wow.
they had two 2-hour powwows with John about getting it made, and because I think they were opening a production studio, early in the like 2012, 2013 ish. They were
Sure.
building their own studio out, and they were very, very interested. In there, we have somebody interested now, but Hickman never wants to talk about that stuff until it's like solid, because so many things in comics people announce and doesn't go anywhere. So for me, it's like I just try to keep that out of my head. It would be a blessing if any of that happens, and I would love to see it happen. And then we've always talked about going back to Manhattan projects when something else kicks up. So there's a little more story there to tell. We plotted out much more than what we finished. So, but he got busy, I got busy, and we're just waiting and seeing. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But yeah, there's been media interest for sure.
That's fantastic. Before we go to a break, Oscar Gomez asks if there are any side characters in the book that you're excited for the readers to get to know besides John. Pardon me. He can't wait to order the the muscle. You'll tell me about the muscle in a second, but he loves ultra violence.
Yeah, so I made a muscle figure of John, like those rubber men, So
Yes, yes.
yeah, I paid a toy maker to design him, and we're casting the molds of him now. So, but instead of doing 1 inch, we're doing him 3 inches.
Wow.
So yeah, so he's a little bigger. We're
Sure.
gonna offer him during in the campaign. Yeah, there's a bunch of side characters. My father's name is Frank, and this is a manly book, so I have this character who's like this big slubby kind of construction worker, but his construction is that he's the executioner of the castle, and he's retiring, and he's getting pulled out of retirement because the main guy running the castle can't trust anyone because the oracle told him he's going to be stabbed in the back. So the guy gets his old executioner out of retirement, pulls him out of retirement, and says, okay, you're going to redesign this castle and put booby traps in it because in case John comes back to the castle. So during the first book, we're following him around on like his last day of work, and he just wants to be done with work. It reminds me of my dad getting up in the morning doing construction work, and he's got a fun little turn, and his story arc is really cool in the book. So he'll blossom into a main character later. There's a couple different guys. There's a couple different characters. We have an oracle that's senile, so even though you can't trust what she's saying, but there's a one-eyed monster named Horus that loves her. That not loves her, but loves her like an old mom, and so he won't get her institutionalized. So she's just sparking stuff on his shoulder all the time. That's nonsensical. Maybe it's nonsensical because she is an oracle, so he never knows. So she tells Horus, this one-eyed monster, that he's going to be stabbed in the back. So now he doesn't trust anyone. So he pulls Frank out of retirement, and Frank is agitated by this. and we follow him on his last day before he gets to retire for a second time. And of course, the axe wielder's coming that day. So you know what I mean?
I
So
do. That's
yeah,
your classic McBain storyline. It's
yeah,
2 days till retirement, and that's when the worst can happen to you. The
yeah. It's exactly it. Exactly it.
the retcon door wants to know why you're wearing a San Diego Chargers hat.
Oh, a Charger.
That's
Well,
what
I'm
he
from
thought it was.
Texas, but I visited my buddy in actually Gary
Yeah.
Brown and Chris Mooneyham. We went out to L.A. and I needed a souvenir, and I play fantasy football, and you don't really get to pick who you want. You get to pick who you get, when it comes to fantasy football. And I got Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, so I figure I needed a souvenir, and those guys were on my team. It's something I can wear in the fantasy football draft days. So it'll change next year. But right
There
now,
you go.
I got Herbert on my squad, so I got to roll with Herbert.
There you go. And that shows you I'm not playing fantasy football because I said San Diego Chargers instead of LA Chargers.
Oh yeah, yeah, LA Chargers, yeah,
If
yeah.
my sports radio friends could see me now, they'd be slapping me for getting that wrong. But hey, we're talking to Nick Pitarra. We're going to talk more about Nick's stuff in just a second. We'll take a quick break. Want more of your questions as well right here on Word Balloon. Back on Word Balloon with Nick Pitarra. We're talking about his new creator-owned book, The Noseless Wonder Warrior himself, Axe Wielder Jon. This is Zoop campaign, and if you go to axewielderjon.com or axewielder, you'll find out more information, and I imagine it will link you to the Zoop page so you can order this fine book. How many pages again, Nick?
It's going to be a 148-page hardcover. We got the main story is a little over 100 pages without any of the design work. We're putting the design work in now. I've got a little short story. There's a guy named Dasha who I really like. He's a very young new artist, and he's going to do a short story for me. And then in the back, we're going to have we had the script and all that fun stuff. But I actually got it right here. We had a lot of artists online they like the design of Jon. So we've had about 50 or 60 artists on Instagram just start drawing him nonstop, which has been really cool. So every morning I've been waking up and some new artist has done it. And here's Chris Somney's here. So Chris Somney sent me this, and there's his.
Oh wow! Stand by. Hold on.
Yeah.
Zoom in. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
outstanding.
I don't know Chris at all. He just did it. He did it, and he sent it to me. It was really sweet of him. And I had like Rob Guillory do one, Dave Marquez, just tons of artists, from pros to amateurs to aspiring professionals, just a ton of guys. So what's going to be in the back of the book as a thank you to all of them is I wanted to surprise them all and try to get them all published. I can't do a whole page for everybody, maybe 4 on a page, but we extended it from 140 to 148 to try to get everybody in. So it's been really cool, and people have been sharing it, and there's been a lot of groundswell. It feels like groundswell. I don't know how it's going to translate to the fingers crossed, but there's been a lot of interest there, or at least a lot of people cheering me on, which has been really cool. And for Nick Darrington did the back cover, and Nick Darrington is a good friend. And his was he just drew it one morning and you tweeted it at me, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. And we talked to Chris Stevens. I'm like, let's let's do him on the back cover. So it's my book. I've written and drawn it, but I don't do the front or the back cover, which has my art rep furious. He's like, you're not doing either of the covers. But I'm like, I don't know, man. I love seeing, what I love is like a guy like Conan it's been in so many other people's, he's been in other people's imaginations. He's been other people's hands. He feels like he's existed for a long time. So I feel like if I can get the back of the book right, in so many different people's hands, it'll feel like he's been around, that he's a little ethereal or
Oh my
something.
God, yes.
And hopefully that'll play.
That's the greatest compliment, I think, when other artists draw your character or write your character. So I think that's wonderful, man.
Yeah, it's a real honor. So if any of those guys are listening, thank you all for taking the time out. Like I start adding up the hours for each of these pieces, and I'm like, it's tons of time people are spending on the guy. So on Jon. So, and really it's on helping and supporting me and getting the word out there. So thank you all who've done pieces. They're all amazing in their own way. So they've been a huge pick me up when I'm trying to grind and get things done. So
I bet. Absolutely, man. You said you've done Marvel work in the past. What characters have you worked on at Marvel?
I've done a little bit of Marvel work. I did the most recent thing was 2 years ago. I did I did 10 pages in the Immortal Hulk. They wanted to design what was happening inside Bruce Banner's head. And so like I had to draw a map and like have him, and then there's a story that happens in his head. And I don't spoil it, but something happens where he bursts out and it's super disgusting in Immortal Hulk. So I got to draw this weird, cool brain stuff. And the first thing I ever did, Hickman discovered me on a show called Comic Book Idol for Comic Book Resources.
Yes.
And yeah. So I
remember that.
I was a finalist on the Comic Book Idol 3, and I lost, but I was in the competition. And when I lost, I got an email from Marvel, and this was like 2008. I got an email from Marvel asking if I want to work with them, and I was like, "How did you hear about me?" And they said, "There's this new writer named Jonathan Hickman who likes your stuff." And I said, "Can I have his number?" He called him up and thanked him, said, "This is a dream come true. Thank you." And we hit it off from there, and we worked together on and off, still to this day. So it's pretty fun.
And what was that first Marvel thing that you did?
It was in Marvel Comics Presents. It was called Mojo World. So I think it's been recollected as Mojo World. So it's just a 48-page book.
Okay.
And it's definitely digitally offered as one whole story and not this individual comics. I don't know if it was ever reprinted. I did a little bit of work in his Shield book. I've done some covers for them. And then with DC, I did Flex Mentallo. I did an issue of Flex Mentallo, which was my favorite character. I love Flex Mentallo from Doom Patrol. Actually, sure. I'll show you one more cool piece of art, but
sure, please.
I got this one here. So I got the first cover to Flex Mentallo #1 with like Quietly.
Oh my God. Yeah,
super cool. That's my favorite piece that I own. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Frank's a sweetheart, man. I love that guy.
He might be the nicest guy in comics. And one, I do think he's the master of this generation. I love his stuff so much. It's been hugely influential on me. I've gotten to know him a little bit. I flew out to Scotland. Me and Chris Burnham flew out to Scotland.
Oh, that's crazy.
We got to hang out with him. You probably know Burnham,
Oh yeah, no Burnham well. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love Burnham. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's nuts. He's a good guy.
He totally is. I like him a lot. I like Burnham a lot. But we went out and flew out and hung out with him and got to pile through his artwork, and we've kept in touch since. And it's just crazy to get emails. My wife's name's Kelsey, and he'll be like, "How are Kelsey and the girls?" And we've become friendly over the years. And so he's just he's like a sweet man, genuine, so nice, so humble, and he doesn't give me advice, with my career or anything, but his work has been a guide for me. It's been like a high watermark you can shoot and fail to be like him, and you'll be professional. You're not going to catch him because he's too good, but you can shoot and fail, and you'll still be a way better artist because he's such a master in so many of the arenas, lighting and figure work and design work and just so many things. He's fantastic. He can paint too. He's just a real artistic genius, and I couldn't be happier to have him as one of my art heroes. He's very, 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 very nice man, very skilled.
No, I see the influence in your work from Quietly. I also see, and I know you have a pull quote from Jeff Darrow, and I see a lot of Darrow in your work as well.
Jeff is amazing too. He came up to me at C2E2 a couple of years ago. He knows I like to arm wrestle for fun. I'm in these arm wrestling clubs. So he came up to my table, and he was like, someone got a video of it too, and we were arm wrestling for fun.
Hilarious.
And, he's a big sweetheart too. And he called me recently. He saw the work of Axe Wielder, So I wanted him to read it, but he said he doesn't like reading digital. So he's like, if I don't have the digital copy, so he's like, no, I'll back it. I'll give you a pull
That's
quote.
awesome. Sure.
And
Wow.
he's thinking about doing a variant cover for it down the line if he has time.
Wow.
So I'm working on him. I'm working on him. But he called me from France, and I got to talk to him on the phone, which
I
is like,
miss him. He used to be
yeah,
in Chicago. He
oh
was in
yeah,
France, and then he came back because he was originally from Chicago, went to France, got married, had his child. They came back to Chicago for a while. Now they're back in France, and I can't blame them. So,
yeah, yeah. But it was cool. Like he called me through Facebook. My phone was calling. I was like, I don't know who this is, a Facebook call, and it's not like it doesn't mark it. And I pick it up, and I was like, he's the only one that I thought maybe would have because he had kind of sent me a message a couple times. So you want to talk on the phone? I'm always too scared and too nervous, And I was like, what am I going to say to you, like other than gush? And then he called and we talked, and he's really sweet. So now we text. He'll send me some stuff he's working on, or I'll send him some stuff I'm working on, and I was telling him about how with Axe Wielder, I didn't want to ask permission anymore. I didn't want to go. It felt beneath me for the first time to say, like, can I publish this? And that's why I wanted to do it on my own. And he said, that's how you're supposed to create. Like with Shaolin Cowboy, people are like, why don't you do other stuff, Jeff? Why don't you do a run on Deadpool? Why don't you do a run on this? And he's like, I'm making my thing. I'm making my brand. And so he's given me a lot of confidence there to stick with it.
totally, man. No, he made his bones already, and people are aware of him, and takes his audience with him on his creator-owned stuff. And yeah, Shaolin Cowboy is his passion, and that's terrific. And that's great that you're doing your own stuff now as well. And I hope not only with Axe Wielder Jon, and obviously, like you said, you're going to get back with Hickman on more Leviathan, but I hope you also, are there other ideas that are percolating in terms of other genres that you want to pursue?
I've got lots of stuff to do. But right now, I really want to invest my time with this muscle. I call it muscle tech. This genre of muscle, overly done muscles and overly done technology. This Masters of the Universe thing. And then one correction, though. One correction. I work with two Johns. I got Layman on Leviathan and Hickman on Manhattan Project. So
Pardon me.
I don't want someone messaging later
Oh,
and you know what I mean. So
yes, I had
yeah,
forgotten that was Layman. Okay, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. That's
I like
fine.
them both. So that's you're in good John company.
Yeah,
Including
they're
myself.
both good. They're both good friends, and I like both
Good.
guys a lot.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't want someone saying later or
Thank you.
whatever. So no, it's all
No, no,
good.
no. I appreciate the correction. No question.
But I obviously got to go back to big monsters after this. So I'm like gearing up to draw many scales and many destroyed cities, which is like a little daunting. So I got to gear up for that, and then it'll be back to Axe Wielder. And I've had a few cool things happen with the Axe Wielder art. Like it's gotten noticed by like Mark Miller reached out and he saw the work
Wow.
and he was really sweet. He was like, he's contemplating something, whatever he's doing, he's
Wonderful.
contemplating. So I don't know if I could say no to Mark if he writes something for me. I don't know if I could say no,
Sure.
but if anything, it was a testament to the work I'm doing, which feels good. He's at the top of the industry, and so
Oh yeah.
yeah, really in the movie industry too. So for him to
Yeah.
reach out just based on the way the aesthetics look of the art without knowing the story, I feel it makes me feel proud. It was a compliment either way, even if we don't collab. But he's a huge and him and Vin. My nostalgia comic was the Authority run that they did. It was the thing when I was getting out of high school that was the hot thing, and I wasn't drawing or reading comics at the time. And I picked it up, and I was like, these heroes, Midnighter's gay, and they're killing, everybody's killing each other, and superheroes can kill each other. This is the coolest thing, and
Yeah.
that was Mark's over the top writing and idea of cinematic storytelling and being bombastic. And so like if I ever did get to work with him, it would be another blessing in the industry if I got to work with him. So maybe that works out, maybe it doesn't. I'm just going to work on Axe Wielder for now, and then we'll see where things lie when it's all said and done.
Hey man, do your thing, and hopefully Mark will find. And if not, it's okay. But if Mark finds something for you, that's great. He's another great high concept guy like Hickman and Lehman. So I think that would be terrific if you guys work together. I was thinking of him this week when I read the news that Netflix is kind of pulling back on animation. Did you
Yeah,
see that headline?
I saw that. I don't know what the ramifications are going to be for the industry. I think Mark is so big that he's probably the least affected, but maybe some of the smaller projects, who knows? Maybe the
Yeah.
smaller projects are going to be affected. it's not good. I don't think it's good news. It's not
No,
good news. So
no, and I know several people that have had animation projects done by Netflix. I mean, God, Sanford Green to name one,
yeah,
and yeah. So and also, God, I guess they were developing Bone as an
yeah.
animation thing, and that got scuttled. And it's like, oh my God, that is like, as you likely know. So I don't know how old your kids are, but I mean, that's such a winner in Scholastic books and kid comics and stuff. And it's like, oh, that just seems like a no brainer. I hope somebody picks that up and makes it.
Yeah, it's got so much brand awareness, and it's such a perennial like comic for the industry. If that
Yeah,
one can't make it, what can make it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
It does. It's not. It feels like it's made for an animation. So hopefully something happens and it can still be made. But that's unfortunate news to hear that for sure.
yeah. I mean, I guess the others, we'll see what the other streamers do with animation. I mean, Hulu certainly has had a great run of animated stuff, and certainly Amazon as well. It's very weird, man. As we're talking this week, CNN Plus got pulled. The plug got pulled on that. I can't blame them. Honestly, I'm waiting for that oversaturation point of streaming. And it seems like, there are still more and more streamers that are popping on. And it's like, people only have so much money, man.
I know,
It's,
and everyone wants you on a subscription model, and it ain't just your streaming service; it's your apps you use. Like everybody's got the idea that they're going to drain every one of every dollar, $6-7 at a time. Like like they want you on streaming everything. They just want
yeah,
you. They want that renewal, and I do it with all my art apps now. These things used to buy and be done, and you do a little upfront fee, but now it's $20 a month, and then now it's $25 a month, and now that my Dropbox is on renewal, and now my Google Drive is on renewal, and my Adobe Photoshop is on renewal, and then my streaming service, obviously, and then there's more popping up. There's like ones I don't know about, like Peacock and CBS streaming, and all the
yep.
individual stations are going for their own streaming
Oh
service.
yeah. I would imagine all the if they don't already have existing streaming deals with various things, there's all the movie companies are going to go that way, all the networks are going that way, obviously. Yeah, it's weird. What kind of art apps do they charge monthly rates for? Or are you
There's
saying
Well,
are they
there's like Clip Studio used to be one where you could buy and find on sale for like $40. Well,
Yep.
now that you have to buy a subscription. Sometimes it's yearly. You get a little cheaper if you do yearly.
Yeah, yeah.
That
No, I know
Definitely,
Adobe
yeah.
is like
Adobe's
that, and I use it for the audio stuff. So
Yeah,
no, I
so
know.
Adobe's terrible. Adobe's really, because I used to, I paid for the expensive version, and now like they won't even, like, if your computer updates, they might not let you use the old version anymore. They really want you, and then you see like it's only 19.99, but you go look at your bill and they creeped it up to 24.99. And if, oh wait, it doesn't come with Adobe Acrobat, so if you need to make a PDF, you need to sign up for that one. Like I've been having to make these advanced PDFs for
Sure.
ActBuilder, and sure enough, like, well, it doesn't work. You got to pay $30 a month now instead of the 24. And they're just like, they're trying to get you at every turn, and they sneakily change the fees. I think my Dropbox is $12 now. I think that started out at like $3. It just
I
keeps
hear you.
going,
I
keeps
use
going up
Dropbox
and up.
as well. Absolutely, man. No,
Yeah.
it's nuts. I agree. And again, I mean, these are necessary expenses, so you can, especially being tax season, you can write them off. But then again, you're still paying for them, and it's
Still
rough.
paying for them. Yeah, it's rough. And then, but yeah, you're right about the oversaturation of media, though. It's like it's everywhere all the time. I find I gravitate more to YouTube now for like my very specific interest. And that's been really. I try to calculate like how much media time I have, and I do think YouTube's growing. I love HBO, the HBO Max. I
Me
think
too. What are you watching on there?
well, I love my old stuff like Deadwood, all the old stuff.
Sure.
But it's like because they've got their homegrown like Sopranos, they got their good series. It
Yeah.
feels like you can come back to it. And then like I love my documentary guy, and
Me too.
the Batman just dropped, and that was cool. I watch a little bit of everything when I have time. I think in the last 6 months with trying to get the book done, it's been tough, but I love HBO is probably my favorite streamer right now. And then just it's a real treat to just show up, and like the new Suicide Squad was on there, or the new Batman's out now. And with the two little girls, and we can't bring them everywhere. We don't get date nights as much. It's just
Sure.
like it pays for itself with just the movie drops, really. So
I hear you, man. I'll tell you, and I've been telling people offline. My guilty pleasure on HBO Max is the Julia Childs show on Cinemax.
Oh,
Uh,
really? I haven't watched it. Is it good?
Honestly, man, it's like, why am I watching this? And I know why, because it's about early television. It's so about the birth of her TV show. And I'll admit, I also like the Amy Adams, Meryl Streep, Julie and Julia movie from 10 years ago. I thought that was a cute movie. But I
Yeah.
really, great cast. David Hyde Pierce and BB Newirth from Frasier and Cheers are fantastic in it. The British woman that plays Julia Child is great. But yeah, I mean, being a broadcast nerd and a guy that's worked for 35 years in broadcasting, I love anything about early TV or early radio and things
Oh,
like
I
that.
know, man. Like I said, I've been listening to you since I broke in, and like I feel like you always, and I'm always worried about this. This is why I'm scared to talk to you and Jeff Darrow, because Jeff Darrow is a kung fu guy, right? And I don't know anything about that, but you're an old film guy, and I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
anything about that, you know. But I know like that's where like if you really want to get John going, you start talking about old film,
Oh
and
God, yeah.
that's yeah. I know that's your thing, but I don't actually don't. I don't know about old films, so like
It's all
I'm
right.
in the dark. But
No,
I,
no.
I love your enthusiasm for it. I'm glad it wouldn't have been a real word balloon episode unless we got at least some old film there, you
Oh,
know. So
100%, man. No, again, growing up in the five channel world pre-cable for, the first 15 years of my life and stuff, couldn't help it. That's all that was on. So, I absolutely loved all that stuff. And Darrow, it's funny, what I bonded with him on is he's a big old radio fan. And
oh yeah,
and especially Gunsmoke, the Western.
yeah.
And listen, the TV show is a great TV show. That's why I was on for like literally 20 years. I mean, it was that good of a show. The radio show was exceptional. And it's a shame because it came out in the early 50s, just when television was breaking. And radio drama and comedy for that matter, but really drama really got a short shrift because the technology was catching up with the writing. And Gunsmoke, good lord, it sounds like somebody just opened a microphone in 1880, Dodge City. And I mean, good lord, you hear the spurs like scrape against the wooden sidewalks and stuff. And I mean, just it really is. And the dialogue takes its time and lets you absorb the atmosphere of the sound effects and the music and everything. And it was just this amazing show that made it to like 61. They were still doing the radio
Wow.
show even in 1961. So yeah, I mean that was my end with Darrow. And he's like, "Oh God,
Yeah,
Gunsmoke, absolutely."
that's awesome. You're a film guy. It isn't an old film, but I do think it's an important film. Like my favorite movie of all time is Unforgiven. Do you like Unforgiven?
Of course, my God, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not that out of touch, but like
Oh
I make my
no.
wife watch it all the time, and I don't know if she likes it, but
Well,
what I
that's
love
like
about
a 30-year-old movie now. So I mean,
I
it's
know, I
funny
know,
because
I
even
know.
Turner Classic Movies, they're
Yeah.
showing 80s and 90s movies. And pardon me, at first I'm like, man, really? But then I think about it, it's like, well, for some kid, this is an old movie. So
When
I
I
get it.
what I like about it is the way William Money's presented by other people. You know that they say things about him, but it isn't necessarily what he is, and they do it over and over again. They do it with each character. You know,
Yes,
it'll be with every character. They'll call them one thing, and then what they are. English Bob is this, but then they show him in a different light. Uh, Little Bill is this, but then they show him in a different light. And then like who's the baddest of all these guys? And William Money is, but he every time, if you notice in that film, every time someone says something about him, I heard you did this and that. I heard you did this and that. He just goes, yeah, or I don't remember. He never owns it. But then when he's at that tree after, spoiler alert, Ned's dead, his elixir is actually he never drinks in the whole movie. He pulls from the bottle for the first time and he drinks again. And then when the cut up young lady comes out and she's like, they said you killed women and you did this and that. And he says he levels with her for the first time and he owns everything and everyone said about him. He says, yeah, I done that. I killed everything that walked or crawled once, and you're like, oh my God, this is it, man. That moment you build for. And something I stole from that in Axe Wielder was I really wanted to show like violent guy and then different side
sure.
and then or bumbling guy, but maybe he can be a hero too. And so yeah, Unforgiven's absolute favorite of mine.
Yeah, Jerry Schaefer kind of pulls up the great Japanese film Rashomon, where it's the same story but from different perspectives and stuff, different people giving their version of the same story. No, Unforgiven is amazing. And again, Eastwood spending so much time as he did in Westerns. I mean, his
Yeah,
whole career was really like gearing up for that moment. And I'm glad he
it's the
made it.
Dark Knight Returns of Westerns, right? Like he had to,
Absolutely. Yes.
you had to live, he had to live that whole life and be that character for so long and different variations of it to tell that swan song,
Absolutely.
and
It's like John Wayne with The Shootist. It was the same thing with John Wayne. I mean,
yeah,
and even The Shootist opens literally with clips from his crappy 30s B movies all the way up through the great, movies with John Ford and Henry Hathaway and the other great directors. And yeah, I mean, again, it was that lineage and that experience of making all those movies that you bought him, just like Eastwood, as this aging gunfire that has all these demons from all the terrible things that he did and stuff, and it just adds gravitas to the performance.
yeah, yeah, it's an amazing film. It's my absolute favorite. So
That's cool.
I still from that and Axe Wielder. I still a little bit.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's all right. And you want that world weary barbarian. And I also
Yeah,
like the idea of the executioner having to come out of retirement and stuff. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. That's excellent, man. Very, very cool. Axe Wielder Jon, everybody. The campaign at Zoop starts on Tuesday, the 26th, and you'll be hearing commercials for Jon here on Word Balloon as well, in a few of the shows that are upcoming as well. But no, man, happy to talk to you about this, and happy to put focus on the campaign. I think it's a great idea, and you do it well. And I'm really glad that this is going to be a new Nick Pitarra project that everyone's going to be paying attention to. And yeah, nothing but good luck and continued success in terms of this project and any of the other ideas that are coming up for you, man.
Man, you're my favorite voice in comics. You've been a backdrop for 15 plus years now, listening to you, like just as I've been coming up, and I got so much of what I know about comics from the long, especially the long form interviews you guys used to do. Like with those 3 hour ones with Bendis and stuff. Like you learn so much. To be on the show is an honor. To get to talk to you, and for you to have me on, it's quite generous of you, and I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you for cutting the promo for me,
Oh, Jesus.
and thank you for spreading the word. You do so much for comics, and you are the voice of comics. So thank you, John. I appreciate your time, man.
Well, that's really kind, Nick. Honestly, thank you very much for saying that. 17th anniversary coming up May 10th
It's,
for Word
that's
Balloon.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I believe it because that's about as long as I've been trying to break in. And you were there. You were there very early on. I remember you had your own section of the Bendis board.
Yes.
Wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. And that's how
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like finding you back in the day and listen to that and wait for the forum to update and get the links and out of there. Yeah. And some of those interviews would like drop in parts, the Bendis tapes part 1, 2, and 3 or Brute or whoever it was. It was always different guys. And you learn so much when you sit down and you have so much time to draw. Drawing takes so much time.
Yes.
So to have that presence and to have that information, and plus this is an industry I'm trying to get into. So to know the editors or to know the projects or to know the tendencies of what people like or what they don't like, I would recommend all professionals or aspiring professionals to listen to content like what you've produced because it only helps you. So you've been a huge part of my life, for the last
Wow.
15, 17 years, man. So it's really an honor to be on your show.
Thanks, man. That's the ambition of the show, and I'm glad that you connected with it that way and contributed to it now with this conversation. And certainly you're welcome back, man. We can do this again as you have new things to talk about and stuff. It'd be my pleasure.
Well, I appreciate you, John. Thank you so much for having me on, and it means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody who watched, and thanks everybody who will be listening. We're going to probably put this out this weekend and let everyone get a chance to jump on Nick's Zoop campaign. If you go to axewielderjon.com or axewielder.com, it'll take you to the project and support this. This is great. It's a cool barbarian story from Nick Pitarra. So happy to talk about it and happy to share this information with you tonight. Everybody have a great weekend. It's Greek Easter, so I'm going to be busy on Sunday. But of course, my family's got to do the double whammy of the double Easter. But can't we just do one? Got to do both. Got to do both. All right, whatever. So it's going to be fun next week. Hopefully, well, I told you I'm not gonna. I was gonna promote it, but I'm like, no. Make sure it's in the can before you promote it. So interesting conversations coming up next week to help close out April here on Word Balloon.
There's
So
some big
hopefully,
ones. There's some big ones. John told me.
absolutely. There you go. Hang out for a second, Nick. I'm gonna wrap up with a promo, but everybody else, thanks a lot for watching, and as always, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.